This is a 6-month-old baby named August. August is being denied heart transplant at Vanderbilt due to vaccination status. Now, I haven't personally looked into the facts of this case, but looking at what I've seen out there, this seems to be a legitimate grievance to me. And the mother wrote this about this case. In her words, she said, very long story made short. The transplant team, specifically Dr. David Barrell, gave us an ultimatum that if we did not give August a series of vaccines, he would keep him off the transplant list. He specifically used the phrase, "I am mandating," about 8 times during our first conversation about this. The second conversation, I reasoned and debated with him over the insanity of giving my baby vaccines with a huge risk of a negative outcome on a severely immunosuppressed child on their deathbed. He continued to refuse. I asked him if it was legal. He said no. I asked if it was policy. He said no. Our third conversation, he came and asked me if I had any more questions. I asked him if he changed his mind. He said no. So here we are. I firmly believe with absolute confidence that this is despicable, unethical, heartless, and disgusting to withhold a heart from a 6-month-old baby over this. I believe loading his body on these will kill him. I believe it is within my rights as a parent to choose this for him. I believe that this doctor holding this over us is motivated by ego. Now, the problem with this, what it gets down to is federal overreach and dependency on federal funds. Senator Hensley, he proposed last legislation, and here's part of what his bill said. Discrimination based on vaccination status, immunity status, or possession of immunity passport prohibited. It is unlawful discriminatory practice for an individual, public officer, public employee, governmental entity, or other person to refuse, withhold from, or deny an individual a service, healthcare access, educational opportunity, or employment opportunity based on the individual's vaccination status, the individual's immunity status, or whether the individual has an immunity passport. Now, I want you to watch the hearing on this. The Senate Judiciary stopped what looked to me very necessary, good legislation to protect the rights of the people. Watch what went on in this judiciary hearing.
This bill is about protecting an individual's rights. Do we believe a person should have the right to determine what goes in their own body? When we're talking about vaccines that can be long-term, have risk. This COVID-19 vaccine has unknown risks we don't know about. People can have natural immunity, which is actually another piece of legislation that I have, where people can have natural immunity that's even better than the vaccines, yet they're required to get the vaccine to be able to work somewhere, to go into venues. So I think that this legislation is very important to protect the individual rights of our citizens, and I would just ask for a positive vote.
I believe we've got representatives from Department of Health, Mental Health, DCS, and DIDS, and the Governor's Office as well. Y'all would please make your way forward. Please give us your name and who you're with for the record, and then your comments on the bill.
Awesome. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Eric Mayo. I'm a legislative liaison for Governor Lee. I'll let these representatives of these departments share from their perspective first, and then I'll give thoughts from the governor's office as well.
All right.
We have concerns with this bill because DIDD may be required to follow the interim final rule of the Centers for Medicaid and Services, the CMS rule. This bill includes no exceptions for compliance with federal laws or for entities at risk of federal funding loss. If DIDD were to follow the CMS rule, this bill would place us either in violation of the proposed statutes or risk the loss of federal funding from CMS.
And there you have it. The reason that baby August is being denied care is because of federal funding, the government is dependent on or addicted to the teat of the federal government. In that hearing, clearly you heard that Governor Lee's office opposed that legislation. Now, was it Governor Lee personally, or was it his office as a lackey for our broken and largely corrupt government? I don't know. Is he incompetent? Of that, I have no doubt. So how do we stop the federal government from basically what is extortion with our own money? Follow federal rules, or you're not going to get any money. The answer is the right of nullification. This is a history book. It was used to teach 5th through 7th grade in the years 1900 through 1929. Our children knew better how to stand up against federal overreach than our state governments know today. So here I'm reading from this book. Nullification means to set aside, to make void. As used in United States government affairs, it means about this: the Congress might pass a law and the president approve it. But if any state thought this law unjust or a violation of its rights under the federal Constitution, that state might, by act of its own legislature, suspend or abolish within its own limits the execution of United States law. The Virginia resolutions written by Madison and the Kentucky resolutions written by Jefferson affirmed this state right in the year 1799. So what did Jefferson say about this in the Kentucky resolutions? He said that in the cases of an abuse of the delegated powers of the members of the general government being chosen by the people, a change by the people would be the constitutional remedy. But where powers are assumed which have not been delegated, a nullification of the act is the rightful remedy. That every state has a natural right, in cases not within the compact, to nullify of their own authority all assumptions of power by others within their limits. That without this right, they would be under the dominion, absolute and unlimited, of whoever might exercise this right of judgment for them. And that's what we're looking at with this federal overreach, is the dominion, absolute and unlimited, because our state governments are weak and they don't know how, and they don't have the courage to stand up to federal overreach. Now, with this funding problem, I don't know exactly how this is going to work, but I've been an accounting professional for more than 20 years. I know how to get things done. So we take a look at federal income tax that's withheld from every employee's paycheck by their employer, and then the employer remits that to the federal government. Well, what if we nullify a portion of the federal income tax? It's quite excessive as it is anyway. And we say, okay, for this money that you're not going to give us because we're not following your rules, that's okay. We're going to have Tennessee corporations, Tennessee businesses, they're going to go ahead and withhold that federal income tax. But we're instead going to divert a portion of that to the state government, used in their general fund to offset whatever benefits they're getting from this federal funding. This would stop this, what amounts to extortion under color of law by our federal government. But our state governments and our state executives, they are too weak and too incompetent to start even thinking about asserting state rights that have long been established. So put me in office as governor, I will do everything within my power to stand up to government overreach and restore justice to our people. Thank you for taking this time with me. God bless, Godspeed to us all, and in God we trust. John Gentry for Governor, 2022.
Madam Clerk, take the vote, and the motion is to calendar.
Senator Gardenhire? No. Votes no. Senator Kyle? No. Votes no. Senator Lamar? No. Votes no. Senator Lundberg? No. Votes no. Senator Roberts? Yes. Votes aye. Senator Rose?
No.
Votes no. Senator Stevens? No. Votes no. Senator White? Yes. Votes aye. Chairman Bell?
No.
Votes no. Mr. Chairman, you have 2 ayes, 7 noes.
2 ayes, 7 noes, your bill fails and stays in committee.